My name is Captain Tessa Moreno, U.S. Army, and in my family I've always been the one who took the heat while my sister soaked up the praise. It started when we were kids. Lila could bend rules until they snapped and our parents would shrug it off as just her spirit. Me. I was the serious one, the rulebook, the buzzkill. You learn to live with that cut, but it never really heals. Last Friday it tore open. Lila didn't swipe my jacket or my keys this time. She walked out of my apartment with a government device worth $2 million. Equipment the army had put in my custody and no one else's. He thought it was a prop. He thought I'd cover like always. Not this time. My phone lit at 6:43 p.m. I was halfway to the coffee maker when her text popped up. Can I borrow that old gear for my date? I almost snorted, until my fingers hit the case and the latches lifted. The foam cradle was a perfect outline around nothing. Kestrel Q91 Quantum Module. $2 million of federal hardware. Gone. I didn't bolt. I didn't dial her. I sat, squared my shoulders and typed one word, enjoy. Then I called Major Priya Anand. Her voice came on steady, the kind of calm you only hear when the stakes go ugly. We're treating this as theft. Follow protocol. Yes, ma'am. I verified serials, noted condition and time, initiated the evidence lock procedures and filed the incident report. CID looped in the precinct. Paper first. Panic never. That's the rule. Lila has always waved off my job as logistics. The thing you joke about until the day you need it to be flawless. Tonight her carelessness wasn't cute. It was federal. I could feel that old ache under my ribs. The one that blooms when someone you love wagers your integrity on their impulse. I pressed it flat with procedure. Major Anand called back within minutes. We've got a location ping, Midtown. The Kingsford. Copy. Moving. This wasn't going to be a hushed family scolding or a text thread that fizzled by morning. It would be lights, cameras, strangers' eyes, and paperwork that sets facts in concrete. I shut the empty case, stood and told myself the only clean order that mattered. Do the job and let the fallout land where it belongs. The Kingsford glowed gold, glassware chiming, laughter ricocheting off marble. At a center table Lila lounged in a red dress, purse unzipped. The module sat inside like a glittering clutch she wanted admired. The rhythm broke when NYPD and Army CID moved at once. Boots on stone. Forks halted midair. Phones rose like a tide. Someone whispered tick-tock. Another went live. Lila tried to laugh it off, fluttering a hand as if it were a prank. But when an agent reached into her bag, lifted the module and read the serial into his recorder, the color leached from her face. I stayed in the shadows, the weight in my chest settling like armor. This wasn't a sibling's spat. This was evidence. Across from her, a man I recognized straightened but didn't bolt. Cole Vance. Northbridge Dynamics. A contractor already pinging our internal audits. He wasn't just a date, he was a thread. Handcuffs flashed under the chandelier. Gasps rolled through the room. Words cut the air, espionage, terror. Sharp as broken glass. My phone buzzed. Dad. Honey, don't make this a big thing. She's just being foolish again. Dad, I said level and cold. This is a federal crime. The call ended. The truth sat heavy. The storm had only started. The precinct smelled like bleach and overtime. Fluorescence washed everyone to bone white. Lila slumped across a metal table, lipstick smeared, eyes red-rimmed. She looked smaller. That didn't stop her voice from spiking when the ADA read the charge. Grand theft of government property. Estimated value, $2 million. Maximum penalty, 10 years in federal prison. She slammed her cuffed hands down. I didn't know. It looked cheap, like some old gadget. I held her stare, my tone even, cutting through the fog. Ignorance isn't a defense. Marcus Hale, tapped his pen, studying me more than her. I drew a breath. There's an alternative. Place her in the restitution program at Fort Halcyon. 6 months. No privileges. She works under military discipline. Learns accountability. It isn't leniency, it's consequence. Hale leaned back, skeptical, weighing it. Unconventional, the ADA said. He didn't have to look at Major Priya Anand to know she'd answer. From her post by the door she kept her tone even. It preserves chain of custody and spares a costly trial. It's viable. Hale's pen scratched once. We'll consider it. The night didn't stop at paperwork. By sunrise, the Kingsford video was everywhere. Clipped, looped, argued over. On Nextdoor, neighbors freeze-framed my sister's purse like they were running evidence. The HOA rumor mill spun up fast. Local news ran the footage on repeat. Lila's PR agency sent a one-line email before dawn. Contract terminated. When I opened my inbox, a subject line burned back at me. Moreno scandal. Not just her name. I stepped out of the precinct into the Colorado dark. The air hit sharp and alpine clean. One thing was certain. This wouldn't fade. From here on we were lashed to the same storm. Monday morning she shuffled through Fort Halcyon's gate in fatigues 2 sizes too big, face scrubbed raw. From a distance I watched them bag her phone, clip a temp badge to her chest and march her into the supply warehouse. Concrete cold, diesel in the air. Staff Sergeant Hollis met her with a voice like steel. On time as life. Late as death. Lila yawned. 30 minutes later she missed roll call and drew latrine duty. The gagging echoed. Her hands shook. Nobody blinked. My phone buzzed. A single text from Cole Vance. I'm out. Don't contact me. She heard by lunch and went glassy like the floor had dropped. By afternoon, a burner account on Nextdoor accused me of using my own sister for career clout. Comments piled on. My name turned sour in other people's mouths. On break, Lila snapped, "You trying to ruin my life?" "No," I said. "You did that yourself." That night I found her on the barrack steps, head in her hands. 6 months like this will kill me, she whispered to nobody. Heat pressed in. Forklifts drummed a dull heartbeat through the bays. Then the lights died. Red strobes pulsed. Sirens knifed the air. Hollis's shout cut through the panic. Power loss. Lockdown. Grant section. Bravo secure now. Lila swallowed, grabbed the very clipboard she'd mocked on day one. Straps, seals, serials, callouts, she muttered, voice wobbling, then finding center. Rack 14B, loose strap. Resealed. Hollis gave a tight nod. Keep moving. The door swung open and 2 DoD inspectors walked in a day early, catching our chaos live. While we stabilized, a pallet from Northbridge Dynamics surfaced. Paperwork called it communications equipment, but the scanner spit back guidance components. Hollis hissed, "If this lands tomorrow, the unit wears the stain." Lila looked at me, fear finally having edges. I felt the same. This wasn't just her mess anymore. "Isolate that crate," Hollis ordered. "First light, I want answers." I tightened my grip on my own clipboard. In my gut, Northbridge wasn't sloppy by accident. Back at my apartment, the only sound was the laptop fan. Spreadsheets lit the room in cold blue. Invoice by invoice, log by log, the pattern sharpened. Northbridge had been relabeling guidance parts as comms. Not a typo. Tactic. I built the report line by line, attached the pull sheets, barcode scans and serial crosschecks, and sent it up to Major Anand. The cursor blinked like a question I didn't want to answer. My phone rang. That. His voice came low, almost pleading. "Honey, Northbridge's largest investor is a major donor at church. Don't dig deeper. This could hurt the whole family. Dad, this is federal fraud. I'm not burying it for anyone's pride." Silence. Then the line went dead. By morning, the HOA had drafted its own verdict. Someone uploaded a doorbell clip. The night I carried a Pelican case from my car for overnight secure hold. The caption wrote itself. She keeps classified gear at home. Comments spiraled. Frame by frame, strangers tried to turn me into a headline. I stared into the mirror, face pale, shoulders squared, and wondered if a decade of being the rigid one was about to collapse under a grainy half-lit video. Then an email pinged. From Ethan Park. Subject: Northbridge under review. "We need to talk." ChatGPT said. "Meet tomorrow." My stomach dropped. Thin. My past, now the prosecutor on my case. Monday in the federal building felt like walking into a freezer. Ethan Park came in crisp, white shirt, navy tie. No trace of the man who once held my hand by the Colorado River. His eyes were official now, chilled to regulation. "Captain Moreno," he began, no ceremony. "The HOA video puts you in frame. From here on out, every report you file is airtight and transparent. Any gap reads as concealment." I met his stare. "Scrutinize everything." "I'm not backing down." While I faced him, Lila faced her own reckoning. During roll call, one participant was hauled back to county for curfew violations. The clink of cuffs turned the barracks silent. That night she found me, voice roughened to honesty I hadn't heard in years. I don't want to end up like that. I don't know if I can make 6 months. You can, I said softer than I meant. But only if you stop treating consequences like jokes. Near midnight my phone split the dark. Ethan again, tone equal parts warning and wait. If Northbridge's fraud holds, every link in the chain gets audited. Your sister is in that chain. She's not just family anymore, she's exposure. The line buzzed in my ear after he hung up and I understood. Lila had crossed from reckless sibling to a name on a federal file. Back in the barracks hall, she folded her hands and whispered a prayer I could barely hear. I stood outside the door listening. Please don't let me break. For once I believed she meant it. By morning the warehouse thrummed like a drum. Each footstep echoed off concrete. Each latch clanged loud enough to rattle ribs. The interagency audit team filed in, clipboards tight to their chests, scanners strobing red across barcodes. Breath felt measured. Lila stood 3 rows down, posture locked, jaw clenched. The same sister who mocked my checklists now clutched her own like a lifeline. Crates opened. Serials read out. Manifests double-checked. One mistake could smear the unit. Halfway through it hit. Another Northbridge pallet. Another communications equipment label that the scanner flagged as guidance components. The air tightened, glances snapping like static. Lila stepped forward. Her voice shook then leveled. Isolate the pallet. Pull serials. Cross-check with inbound logs. She bent to the clipboard, handwriting steady, clean. For the first time her pen didn't skid. Hollis watched, arms folded. After a beat, not bad. From him that was almost a ribbon. The door opened. Northbridge's rep slid in, and beside him Cole Vance, pressed suit, hair shellacked, pretending composure. His eyes flicked to Lila. I saw her shoulders tense. I knew exactly which line replayed in her head. Bring that gear. Go look cool. One sentence had lit the fuse. Now its smoke hung over everything. I rose, heart hammering, and read Lila's discrepancy report out loud. Crate ID, serial mismatches, manifest conflicts. 2 airmen rolled the Northbridge pallet into the open. Seals intact, label wrong as a siren. The air thinned. Inspectors froze mid-note. The rep blinked too fast. Lila's signature sat in blue ink. Procedure, documented, undeniable. Cole's mask slipped a fraction. Enough. In the back corner, Ethan flipped his notebook open. The scrape of his pen sounded like a blade. His gaze bypassed Lila and me and landed squarely on Northbridge. The silence weighed more than shouting. The storm had a heading. Late afternoon, mountain wind combed the windows of the federal conference room. Ethan dropped a thick stack of files on the table. His voice went clipped, almost surgical. We have enough to bring charges against Northbridge Dynamics. The case map was iron. Lila's report mattered. It showed the process followed to the letter. My nights tracing invoices and shipment logs closed the gaps. Altered line items, code swaps by design, signatures slid past oversight. The puzzle didn't spell clerical error. It spelled orchestration. Fraud. Cole Vance's name surfaced fast. Messages, receipts, even that offhand line to Lila. Bring the gear. It'll look cool. What read as reckless flirting last week read as collusion now. Agents marked pages, low voices passing between them. Ethan didn't bother looking up, he signed the next form. Indictments. By evening the news cut into programming with banners blazing. Northbridge Dynamics charged. Potential fines in the tens of millions. For the first time in months, Moreno wasn't paired with scandal. It was paired with whistleblower. The fallout hit home quick. My parents called that night. Not with protests, not with bargaining. They said nothing at all, and the quiet weighed more than their old accusations. Maybe they finally saw how protecting Lila at any cost almost broke all of us. Meanwhile, the AD slid a single sheet across the table to Lila. 2 words typed at the bottom. Cooperation noted. 6 months completed. Earned not by skating but by standing in front of inspectors and doing the work. Not innocence. Accountability. When the room emptied, Ethan lingered by the window. The hard edges in his voice eased. If you hadn't held the line, Captain, today would have wrecked a dozen careers. You didn't just cover yourself. You safeguarded a chain of command. The weight settled, but for once it didn't crush. It steadied. I walked out into a wind that still bit like winter. Lila waited at the curb, hair pulled back, no makeup, no phone. No performance. She didn't rush to explain. She just placed her temporary badge in my palm. I don't need this anymore, she said, voice stripped to truth. The metal was warm from her hand, heavier than it should have been. I closed my fingers around it, knowing it wasn't a token, it was a promise. The girl who mocked responsibility had learned how to carry it. The diner hummed. Old jukebox, coffee that never sleeps. Neon washed the windows in pink and blue. Apple pie and burnt grounds clung to the air. We sat across a chipped formica table. The silence between us was louder than the trucker's chatter. Lila nudged the badge toward me. It clicked against the laminate. You didn't save me, she said quietly. I saved myself. You just stopped covering. I really looked at her. No filters, no spin, just a woman meeting her own reflection without flinching. The girl who once mocked my checklist had traded vanity for something steadier. She hesitated, eyes on her hands. I used to call you boring. Too rigid. Too predictable. Maybe boring also means steady. Safe. And right now, I think I need that more than anything. A breath left me lighter than I expected. I let a tired, honest smile curve. Don't thank me, I said. Just don't go back. Her eyes shone, not tears exactly, but something held together from the inside. She nodded once, like sealing a pact only we understood. Outside, the night smelled like gasoline and summer dust. She wrapped her arms around me, tighter than she ever had. Thank you, she whispered into my shoulder. For proving accountability is a kind of love. Under the street lamps, I finally named what I'd been circling for months. This wasn't revenge. It was responsibility. Heavy, thankless, and, somehow, the most precious gift a sister can give.